This alien ship was sold for nothing. A human turned it into a galactic legend. Elias Carter walked through the dim corridors of the outer station, his boots echoing against the metal floor. The station was enormous, but forgotten. Dust floated in patches where sunlight pierced the thick windows, and most merchants had long since left the old trading docks for newer, shinier stations. Elias liked it this way. Fewer people meant fewer problems, and more chances to find something valuable. He carried a small datapad in one hand, scanning listings for ships, and a worn toolkit in the other. His eyes flicked to a corner of the station where the light barely reached, and his heart skipped a little. There it was. A wreck. The alien ship was unlike anything Elias had ever seen. Its hull was cracked, scratched, and scorched in places. Large sections of plating hung loose, and some panels were missing entirely, exposing inner machinery that had long stopped humming. The engines were cold and dark, and from the outside it looked abandoned. Most aliens in the station avoided it. Rumor said the ship was cursed, that every owner had faced disaster. Some even said it had killed its previous captain. To Elias, it was perfect. Almost free, he murmured. His fingers brushed the datapad. The listing showed the final price. Almost nothing. Even the smallest credit amount for most humans would have been a fortune. But the alien sellers wanted it gone. They were tired of the bad luck it brought them. The human walked closer, studying the ship. He noticed the design choices. Strange power conduits ran along the hull. Oversized supports ran under every panel, and the ship's shape seemed awkward but purposeful. Where aliens saw flaws, Elias saw potential. He shook his head and smiled. Everyone sees what they want to see, he whispered. Let's see what's really here. The alien merchant guarding the wreck shook his head when Elias approached. His blue skin rippled nervously, and his 4 eyes blinked rapidly. You will regret this, human, he said in broken galactic common. This ship, it brings only death. Elias laughed softly. Maybe, he said, or maybe I see what others cannot. With a few quick credits transferred, the wreck was his. The alien shrugged, glad to be rid of it, while other merchants laughed behind his back. Humans were reckless, short-lived, and weak, they said. They had no understanding of alien technology. Elias didn't care. He boarded the ship. The interior was worse than he expected. Panels hung loose, wires snaked across the floor, and the control console was covered in dust. The smell of burnt circuits filled the air, yet Elias moved quickly, inspecting every system. Power core, still intact, he muttered. The engine's heart was old and inefficient, but stable. Structural support, more than enough. This ship could take more than anyone thinks. As he examined the navigation system, he noticed something strange. Despite the decades of neglect, some of the controls responded to his touch. A faint hum began to grow in the hull, like the ship was waking from a long sleep. Elias smiled wider. You're not dead, he said softly. You've just been waiting for someone who understands you. Hours passed. Elias worked steadily, cleaning circuits, tightening panels, and reconnecting systems. The ship was stubborn, reacting slowly to human input, but it responded. He felt the thrill of discovery, the same one he had felt the first time he fixed a broken drone on Earth. By the time he finished, the station's overhead lights were dimming. The wreck no longer looked lifeless. Small lights blinked on the panels. A faint hum of energy coursed through the ship. Elias leaned back in his chair, tired but satisfied. Tomorrow, we'll see what you can really do, he whispered. That night, he slept aboard the ship, in the pilot's chair. The hum never stopped, and he dreamed of distant stars and alien worlds. In his dreams, the ship moved like a living creature, twisting and dodging invisible dangers, strong and untouchable. The next morning, Elias activated the main engines. Sparks flew as ancient circuits engaged, but they held. The ship shuddered, then purred like a beast waking from slumber. Outside the station, other merchants noticed the movement and stared. Some of the aliens gasped, convinced the ship was acting on its own. Impossible, one muttered. No one should control it, Elias grinned. He tested the thrusters, feeling the response through the controls. It was sluggish, but precise. The ship wasn't fast yet, but it held power and structure in ways no alien builder had fully used. He guided the wreck to the docking bay exit. The station's sensors flared. Warnings blared. Aliens hurried to watch, whispering to each other. Their fear was palpable. "Take it slow," Elias muttered to himself. "We don't want to scare them too much yet." As he undocked, a sudden alert made the human jump. Sensors were detecting energy spikes from the ship's systems. The alarms were loud, but Elias quickly realized it was a response, not a malfunction. The ship was alive in a way aliens had never expected. It responded to human logic and touch, something they could never understand. A nearby alien trader whispered, "It's moving on its own?" Elias ignored them. He focused on testing the engines, twisting knobs and pushing controls. The ship surged forward, smoothly, like it had been waiting decades for someone to understand it. He laughed, leaning back in the chair. "They all laughed," he said softly. "They thought it was worthless, and they were wrong." For the first time, Elias understood why the ship had a reputation for misfortune. Aliens feared things they could not control. This ship, though powerful and resilient, could not be handled with fear or arrogance. It needed a human mind to see its true strength. Hours passed as he pushed the systems. Lights blinked and panels warmed as circuits engaged. The wreck shone under the weak sun of the station's sector. It was alive, not as a machine, but as a partner. Elias felt the connection growing. He made mental notes for the next day. Structural reinforcements, power reroutes, control recalibration. The ship would be faster, stronger, more resilient. Every alien who had abandoned it had missed the point. By nightfall, Elias had eaten nothing, barely rested, but he felt exhilarated. He had claimed the worthless ship, and already it was responding. He closed his eyes, imagining the adventures ahead. In his mind, he saw the stars and distant systems, unexplored by humans or aliens. And he knew one thing for certain. This ship, under his hands, would not remain worthless for long. He looked around the cockpit, softly running his hands over the worn panels. "We'll show them," he said. "We'll show the galaxy what you can do, and what humans can do." Outside the station, alien traders whispered among themselves. One shook his head in disbelief. "Humans. They are foolish and dangerous." Elias smiled in the cockpit. He didn't see himself as foolish. He saw potential. He saw a challenge. And above all, he saw a story that the galaxy would remember. For the first time in decades, the wreck was no longer cursed. It was waiting for a human to turn it into something legendary. And Elias Carter intended to do exactly that. As the station lights dimmed, the wreck moved quietly out of the docks. The human at the helm laughed softly. "Let's begin," he said. Elias barely slept, eating only quick rations, always keeping one hand on the console. Slowly, the ship began to change. Its movement became smoother, its engines more responsive. Even the alien life support systems, which had been notoriously difficult to control, adjusted to human commands as if they recognized a new leader. Nearby systems picked up the changes. Traders and freighters in adjacent sectors noticed a strange spike in energy emissions. Sensors recorded readings that didn't match any known alien technology. Rumors began to circulate. Something was happening to the wreck. Something impossible. On the third day, Elias decided to test the ship in space maneuvers. He pushed the engines harder than the alien builders had ever dared. The ship groaned, sparks flying from the old energy lines. But it held. It twisted, dove, and turned with precision, like a living animal responding to its master. From a nearby trade route, alien crews observed with growing unease. One pilot, a tall, gray-skinned being with sharp mandibles, muttered to his co-pilot, It shouldn't survive that." No alien ship could survive that. Elias didn't hear them. He was too focused. He guided the wreck through a tight asteroid field, dodging huge chunks of rock and debris. The ship adapted as he went, folding old systems into new patterns. It moved in ways that had never been planned. The human laughed, feeling a thrill he hadn't felt in years. "You're learning fast," he said. "I like that." That night, the ship and Elias rested in orbit around a small, uninhabited moon. He examined the systems again, making small tweaks and adjustments. Every improvement seemed minor to a casual observer, but each one made the ship stronger, faster, more durable. By now, the wreck had stopped being just a project. It had become a partner. The next morning, while Elias was recalibrating the energy conduits, a warning flashed on his console. He frowned. A small fleet of alien pirates was approaching, apparently looking for an easy target. From their sensors, they could not see that the ship was no longer weak. They assumed it was abandoned or helpless. Elias smiled. "Let's teach them a lesson," he said. As the pirates approached, the wreck groaned, almost as if it recognized the danger. Elias adjusted the shields, rerouted power to the engines, and took a deep breath. When the first pirate fired, the shots bounced off the reinforced hull. Sparks flew, but the ship held. The aliens were shocked. The human laughed again, twisting the controls in ways the aliens did not expect. The wreck darted between their formations, ramming one ship lightly and spinning out of the way of others. Each maneuver pushed the engines and hull to their limits. The pirate ships were built for speed and firepower, but not endurance and not adaptability. Hours passed and the pirates' attacks became desperate. They could not anticipate the humans' decisions, nor the ship's responses. Eventually they broke formation, retreating in confusion. Alarms and panic filled their fleet channels. The wreck, still slightly damaged but intact, floated victorious. Elias leaned back in his chair, exhausted but triumphant. "See? I told you we weren't worthless," he said softly to the ship. The alien traders and freighters nearby were whispering now, sending encrypted messages back to their homeworlds. A human had taken a wreck, a ship everyone else thought was cursed or useless, and survived against pirates with ease. Some aliens began to speculate. Had humans discovered a new form of technology? Or had they simply unlocked something the aliens can never understand? Days passed. The wreck continued to improve under Elias's care. Systems that had once been considered fragile were now reinforced beyond imagination. Engines that were barely functional could now push the ship at speeds rivaling smaller cruisers. Even alien life support and navigation modules adjusted to human logic, performing better than they had in decades. By the end of the week, the wreck had a reputation. Other ships gave it space as it passed through lanes, wary of what they had seen. "The human ship doesn't break," was whispered. "It adapts. It learns. It survives." Elias began to explore more ambitious modifications. He fitted the ship with improvised weapon systems, not traditional alien designs, but tools that humans could use with precision. The wreck became not just a survivor, but a fighter, able to defend itself and others. While working, Elias noticed the ship was more than just strong. It was clever. Small systems anticipated his inputs, managing power flows, adjusting shields, and even predicting asteroid movements. The human marveled. No alien could have designed this. Only a human mind could have unlocked its full potential. One evening, while floating near a quiet nebula, Elias observed a distress signal. A small cargo convoy was under attack by a raider fleet. Other warships were too far to respond in time. Without hesitation, Elias powered up the wreck and jumped toward the signal. Even incomplete, the ship moved like it had a purpose beyond mere survival. The raiders, seeing a strange wreck charging at them, laughed at first. Then they fired. Their beams bounced harmlessly off the reinforced hull. The wreck rammed one of their smaller ships, disabling it. Human ingenuity combined with alien engineering created a strategy that the raiders could not predict.
By the time the raiders retreated, the convoy was safe.
The human had saved lives with a ship that the galaxy had called worthless. Whispers of the event traveled faster than any data transmission. "The human and the wreck," traders said. "The one that shouldn't exist, and yet it saved others." Elias didn't care about the fame, he cared about the ship. And the ship seemed to care about him. Lights blinked in patterns that almost resembled gratitude, and small vibrations ran through the hull when he rested his hand on the console. He smiled. "We're just getting started," he said. Soon, Elias realized the galaxy would begin to take notice. Alien authorities, corporations, and even military fleets would want the ship for themselves. But he didn't plan to surrender it. This ship was not a weapon to be hoarded. It was a legend in the making, and he intended to show the galaxy what humans could do. He spent the next days testing limits, running simulations, and imagining encounters with larger fleets. Each trial made the ship stronger. Each maneuver proved its resilience. And with every success, the whispers grew. Alien crews began referring to it quietly, by a new name, the Undying Hull. Elias didn't care about the name. What mattered was the bond between human and ship. Where others saw a broken relic, he saw potential, intelligence, and resilience. Where aliens feared failure, he thrived on challenge. And as he prepared to leave the nebula, plotting a course to a distant sector for further modifications, Elias knew one thing for certain. The galaxy had no idea what was coming. A ship sold for nothing was now rising into legend, and a human would lead the way. The stars stretched ahead, vast and untamed, and Elias smiled at the thought of the adventures waiting in the darkness. His ship hummed beneath him, alive and ready, proving that sometimes the most valuable things are the ones everyone else discards. And somewhere, across distant sectors, alien eyes widened as word spread. Humans were reckless, yes, but also unstoppable. And one human, piloting a worthless wreck, was about to show the galaxy exactly why. Elias Carter sat in the pilot's chair, eyes fixed on the stars ahead. The wreck, now humming steadily under his hands, had grown stronger and smarter over the past weeks. Its hull was reinforced, engines fine-tuned, and systems that had once been fragile now performed beyond their intended limits. Even the alien controls seemed to anticipate his every move. The galaxy was taking notice. Whispers had turned into rumors, and rumors into stories. Traders across multiple sectors spoke of a human piloting a ship that shouldn't exist. Some called it the Undying Hull. Others said it was alive, or perhaps even sentient. Whatever the case, no alien could understand how it survived attacks, outran pursuers, and adapted to impossible maneuvers. Elias didn't care about the fame. He cared about the ship. And the ship seemed to care about him. Lights pulsed gently, almost like a heartbeat, as he ran diagnostics. "Ready for the next challenge?" he asked. The wreck responded with a hum that made the cockpit vibrate slightly, as if agreeing. The challenge came faster than expected. A patrol of alien authority ships intercepted his course. They weren't pirates. They were military vessels, sleek and heavily armed. Their orders were simple: seize the ship and bring it in for inspection. Behind the request, Elias suspected the truth. They wanted to dissect it, learn its secrets, and understand how a human had taken a wreck and made it stronger than their warships. "Not today," Elias muttered, adjusting the thrusters. The alien fleet moved in formation, trying to block his path. Their sensors picked up the ship's energy spikes, and their leaders whispered warnings about human unpredictability. None of them understood that the ship had already learned from its pilot, adapting faster than they could anticipate. Elias pushed the engines to full capacity. Sparks flew from circuits that had once been considered weak, but they held. The ship lurched forward, dodging missiles and energy blasts. Its hull groaned but remained intact. Every maneuver was precise, yet instinctual. The wreck was learning faster than any alien engineer could imagine. One of the patrol ships fired a concentrated beam, expecting to disable the engines. It struck the hull, and for a moment, Elias feared the worst. But the human had anticipated this. He had rerouted power to critical sections, and the energy spread across the reinforced plating. The beam bounced harmlessly, leaving only shallow scars. The alien captain stared in disbelief. "Impossible. No ship should withstand that." Elias grinned. "Humans build things to last," he muttered, "not just to impress." The fleet tried to outmaneuver him, but every time they thought they had an advantage, the wreck adapted. Shields shifted in response to incoming fire. Engines adjusted thrust distribution automatically. Even minor structural vibrations were absorbed, preventing serious damage. Hours passed and the human ship had turned what should have been a short pursuit into a desperate struggle for the aliens. Their formations began to break, their energy reserves dwindling. The wreck, still intact, darted between asteroids and debris fields, using the environment as a weapon against those who underestimated it. Finally, the patrol fleet broke formation, retreating in confusion. Elias watched them leave, smiling. "And that's why you don't underestimate humans," he said. The wreck, however, was not done. It seemed to respond to the adrenaline in the cockpit, humming with energy, as if proud of its performance. Elias could feel the pulse of the ship under his hands, a rhythm that matched his own heartbeat. He set course for a nearby uninhabited system, planning to continue upgrades. There were still weak points to reinforce, systems to integrate, and energy flows to optimize. Each day, the wreck became more than a ship. It became a partner, a living legend in the making. But attention came quickly. Word of the engagement with the alien patrol spread across sectors. Traders, smugglers, and even distant military outposts recorded reports of a human ship surviving attacks that should have destroyed it. Some speculated that humans had unlocked a new form of technology. Others whispered darker theories. Perhaps the ship was alive, or perhaps humans had found a way to harness alien systems in a way no one could predict. Elias ignored the chatter. He focused on his work, guided by instinct and experience. The wreck responded to his every command, systems syncing in ways that felt almost organic. Every panel he adjusted, every engine recalibration he performed, made the ship smarter, faster, and more resilient. A week later, he detected another signal, this one from a convoy under attack in a distant sector. The distress call was weak, almost lost in the void, but Elias didn't hesitate. Even though the wreck was still undergoing modifications, he knew he could reach them in time. As he approached, the scope revealed a fleet of alien raiders surrounding the convoy. Their ships were smaller but more numerous, firing relentlessly. The convoy's shields were failing. Elias adjusted the controls, rerouting power to the reinforced hull. The wreck lunged forward, weaving between laser fire, absorbing impacts that would have destroyed any other vessel. One by one, the raider ships fell to the wreck's unexpected maneuvers. The human used more than brute strength. He exploited the ship's clever systems, turning environmental hazards into weapons. Asteroids, radiation fields, and magnetic storms became tools against the enemy. The wreck responded instinctively, protecting Elias while striking with precision. Hours later, the raiders retreated. The convoy's captain, a human-like alien with 3 arms, stared in shock. What are you?" he asked. "That ship? It shouldn't exist." Elias smiled. "Just a human in a wreck," he said. "But together, we're something else." The wreck had survived again. The story of a human piloting a ship no one thought could survive spread even further. Traders whispered about the undying hull, and the name grew into legend. Aliens debated what they had witnessed. Was the ship sentient? Was Elias secretly enhanced by some human technology? No one could answer. Elias didn't care. Fame wasn't his goal. Each victory was another step toward understanding the wreck, pushing it beyond limits even the original alien designers had never imagined. By now, the ship had developed subtle habits, almost like it could think for itself. Systems adjusted without input, engines hummed with confidence, shields shifted at the first sign of danger. The wreck was no longer a simple machine, it was alive under human guidance. But Elias knew this wouldn't go unnoticed forever. Authorities, corporations, and war fleets would want the ship for themselves. They would send hunters, researchers, and mercenaries. And when that happened, the human and his ship would have to prove their legend once again. For now, Elias focused on the next step, perfecting the ship's abilities and preparing for the challenges ahead. The wreck was strong, but the galaxy was vast and unpredictable. Every day was a test, and the human intended to pass with flying colors. As the wreck glided through a quiet nebula, Elias sat back and allowed himself a rare moment of reflection. "You've come a long way," he said softly. "From a wreck that everyone abandoned to something the galaxy whispers about. We're only getting started." Outside, distant stars twinkled like silent witnesses. Somewhere, alien observers took note of the human's path, recording every anomaly, every impossible feat. Some feared him. Others wanted to understand him, but no one could control him. The wreck, alive and humming, pulsed gently beneath him. It had survived pirates, military fleets, and impossible maneuvers. Now, it was ready for whatever the galaxy could throw at it. Elias adjusted the controls, plotting a course deeper into unclaimed space. There were sectors uncharted, systems unexplored, and mysteries that waited to be uncovered. The human and the wreck would face them together, rewriting the rules of survival, engineering, and legend. And somewhere in the far reaches, across the many alien worlds, whispers continued. The human ship, the one that shouldn't exist. It survives everything. Elias smiled. That was just the beginning. The galaxy had no idea what was coming next. Elias Carter sat in the cockpit, hands steady on the controls, eyes scanning the stars. The wreck, no longer just a wreck, but a living, breathing machine of alien steel and human ingenuity, hummed beneath him. Its reinforced hull had survived attacks from pirates, military patrols, and asteroid collisions. Its engines had endured maneuvers no alien ship had ever attempted. And now, the galaxy was beginning to understand why humans were dangerous. The distress signal arrived without warning. It was faint but desperate. A fleet of civilian transports trapped near a collapsing star system, under attack by a massive alien raiding force. Conventional warships were too far to intervene in time. Elias didn't hesitate. "Time to show them what we're made of," he whispered to the wreck. The ship responded immediately. Lights blinked, shields hummed, engines roared. It was ready. Elias felt the familiar surge of adrenaline, the bond between human and machine stronger than ever. When the alien fleet arrived, they expected easy prey. The civilians were slow, defenseless, and their ships lightly armored. The raiders moved in formation, confident, firing relentlessly at the transports. Their weapons tore through shields, slicing through hulls. Panic spread like wildfire. But Elias had a plan. He guided the wreck through the battlefield with precision. Its reinforced hull deflected energy beams, and improvised thrusters allowed tight, unpredictable movements. It darted between the raiders, drawing fire away from the civilians. Each impact bent the wreck slightly, but the ship held, absorbing punishment and adapting instantly. The alien commanders were stunned. "Impossible," one hissed. "No single ship can survive that." The wreck smashed into the lead raider, ramming with calculated force that disabled their engines. Before the others could react, it pivoted, firing improvised weapon systems Elias had installed. Missiles, energy projectiles, and magnetic pulse disruptors struck with precision. The alien ships faltered. Elias smiled. "You're learning fast," he said softly, patting the control console. The ship responded with a subtle vibration, like a heartbeat, as if it understood praise. The civilians' transports had no idea who or what was saving them. They could only watch in awe as a single human ship turned the tide. The wreck moved like a living predator, striking, dodging, and shielding. Every hit it took only made it stronger. Hours passed. The raiders tried every tactic they could imagine. Formation shifts, energy volleys, targeting the human directly. Nothing worked. The wreck adapted instantly, shields flexing, engines adjusting, hull bending without breaking. Elias pushed it further than ever, testing its limits, but the ship held. Finally, the raiders broke. Exhausted, confused, and battered, they fled into the void. The human ship, though scorched and scarred, had survived. They debated fleet strategies and alliances, and when the time came, Elias would face them all. Not as a mere pilot, but as a symbol of human resilience and ingenuity. For now, Elias plotted a course to a sector known for treacherous anomalies. It was a perfect place to test the wreck further. The engines purred, The hull vibrated, and lights blinked in anticipation. It was alive. It was strong, and it was ready for anything. As he navigated through a dense asteroid field, the wreck adapted instinctively, dodging obstacles that would have destroyed any other ship. Systems hummed in harmony with the human mind. Shields flexed dynamically and engines twisted to angles no alien pilot would dare attempt. Elias smiled. "You're perfect," he whispered. A faint signal appeared on the scanners. It was an uncharted distress call from a small settlement caught in a gravity storm. No one else could reach it in time. Elias didn't hesitate. He accelerated the wreck into the storm, its reinforced hull and adaptive systems letting it survive where others would have been crushed. The settlement's inhabitants stared in awe as the wreck arrived, shielding them from debris, stabilizing their energy systems, and clearing the storm as much as possible. They had never seen anything like it. Some whispered that the ship was alive, that it could think, feel, and act for itself. Elias guided the wreck with precision, feeling every vibration, anticipating every challenge. The ship bent, flexed, and shifted, taking the punishment of the storm without breaking. Finally, the settlement was safe. The inhabitants cheered, recording every detail for others to witness. By the time Elias left the system, he knew the wreck had achieved more than survival. It had become a symbol. A human and a ship, working together, had turned what was worthless into something unforgettable. The galaxy would remember this day. Alien fleets would rethink their strategies. Traders would spread tales of the human who piloted a ship that survived everything. And somewhere in the darkest corners, enemies would whisper fearfully, "The human ship, it cannot die. It adapts. It survives. It learns." Elias didn't care about their whispers. He looked ahead to the stars, knowing more challenges awaited. And the wreck, alive under his hands, pulsed with anticipation. Together, they would face the impossible, survive, and grow stronger. The legend of the human in the wreck had begun, and this was only the start. And somewhere in the distant corridors of the station, alien eyes widened in disbelief. A ship sold for nothing, and a human at the controls had already begun to write the rules. The stars stretched endlessly around Elias as he piloted the wreck further from the old trading station. The ship was still rough, its engines groaning like a beast waking from a long sleep. But Elias didn't mind. Every creak, every spark, every shudder was a sign that the vessel was alive, and that he had begun to understand it. He studied the ship's systems on the control panel. Alien engineering was strange to him at first, with layouts that ignored logic in favor of rituals and tradition. But humans thrived on practicality. Where the alien designers had hidden the ship's power in obscure loops, Elias rerouted it for efficiency. Where they had made fragile panels delicate, he reinforced them with human alloys, stronger than the original. "You're going to be something else when I finish with you," Elias muttered. "Not just a ship, a legend." The wreck responded to his words in its own way. Lights blinked faster, hums deepened. The small systems aligned automatically, as if testing the human who dared to command them. Elias chuckled. He liked it when machines tried to impress him. It meant they could be trusted. By the second day, the work had begun in earnest. He dismantled old panels and rebuilt them. He rewired the engines, turning inefficient energy loops into direct power flows. He reinforced the hull in critical areas, anticipating stresses the alien builders had never imagined. When he opened the cargo hold, he discovered more surprises. Alien storage systems had a modular design, with compartments that could expand or contract depending on the weight inside. Elias modified them to hold supplies for months, not days. The wreck had been underestimated in almost every way. Hours turned into days. The civilians cheered, sending frantic signals to distant sectors, spreading the legend further. Elias allowed himself a moment to breathe. He looked around the cockpit. The wreck's lights pulsed softly, systems cooling but still alive. He ran his hands over the console, feeling the vibrations of a ship that had become more than metal and wires. It had become a legend, but the battle had consequences. News of the engagement spread across the galaxy. Trading hubs buzzed with rumors. Military forces began to track the ship, not to attack, but to study, learn, and prepare. Corporations debated how to harness human ingenuity. Aliens whispered about a new era of warfare, one where humans, and their unpredictable minds, could dominate.
Elias didn't care about fame or power.
He cared about the wreck, and the wreck, alive in its own way, seemed to care about him. Together, they had survived the impossible. Together, they had saved lives. And together, they were about to show the galaxy what humans were truly capable of. The next weeks were filled with testing and upgrades. Elias pushed the ship beyond its original design. He added new systems, reinforced old ones, and improvised tools that the alien designers had never imagined. The wreck adapted to each change instantly, systems integrating smoothly, almost as if it understood the human's vision. By now, the ship had a reputation that preceded it. Alien fleets gave it wide berth, civilians cheered when it appeared, and traitors whispered its name in awe, the undying hull. Elias didn't seek recognition. He focused on the next challenge, exploring uncharted systems, testing the ship in new environments, and continuing to push the boundaries of what a human and a machine could achieve together. But the galaxy was not idle. Word of the human ship had reached a coalition of alien species. Leaders feared humans gaining too much influence, too much power, too much legend.